I'm not a father. That's not my situation. I'm sterile. But I tell you something, I have advice for fathers. And this is something that would have made a difference in my life. You know, can I give advice to a father on what they should say to their kid or son in certain circumstances, being that I have none, or that I didn't have these kind of interactions with my father? I don't know, but I would say this, you know, if you have a son, or a daughter for that matter, and you could see that the road ahead with the person that they're connected with and interacting with on a level of significance is not going to work out, or it just doesn't look like it's going to be good, you know, whether or not they're young and it's going to be an experience for them, you know, the best advice you could give them is to say something like, you could do better than that. You know, it's probably not a good idea to point out specifics, because, you know, when you're growing and you're learning about people and you're connecting, you know, you want to stick up and defend that person if you were raised by a good family with manners and morals and respect. Now, not everybody's raised like that. Some people are born to lie, cheat, steal, and take advantage of other ones, and look at their positive points and try to capitalize on that, and even, you know, create an air of dominance where they want to have control things. But I'm speaking for somebody that's been raised with, like I said, a good moral standing and ethics that goes into something as an equal and wants to converge with someone. And, you know, knowing that men and women both lie and they have different faces and masks that they put on, you know, if I had gotten advice like that instead of like specific stuff or nothing at all, you know, it probably would have made me think about my situations and, you know, not be defensive of myself with my own choices, or to defend the person, stick up for the person that I anticipate connecting further with, you know. But just the term, like the wording to say, you know, son, you could do better, and then walk away. You know, that probably would have made a difference, and then I would have been able to see and think for myself, you know. And then, if anything else was to be said in relation to that, I would say, you know, make sure that they reciprocate and, you know, they're thoughtful and considerate in the way that you are. Like if you remember their birthdays, you know, whether you get them something or not, circumstantially, what allows, you know, they should at least have recognition. And, you know, they shouldn't blame you for stuff. And the older people get, you know, that childish behavior really has to take a back seat or go away at some point in time, when it comes down to like communicating and having a good level of respect for one another. And I would say that, you know, make sure they're considerate, make sure that they reciprocate, make sure that they show care, and that they don't like dismiss you for things that may be important to you, you know, and that they care about themselves enough to keep their own life in order, to make room for you and share with you. Because, you know, a lot of times between men and women, as a man, you end up opening the door way more than a woman opens for you. And, you know, whether it's because they have a lot of other men opening the doors for them, or boys opening the doors for them, or more options generally than a man, it's neither here nor there, you know. And they need to put you first, you know. And if they can't do that, then, you know, you should walk away. And you really shouldn't take it personal. You know, a lot of people go through stuff where they, you know, they get hurt and they get heart damaged in their heart, and then their emotional state is imbalanced because they're trying to find closure in a situation where they just won't get closure. And you know, it's okay to have expectations, but you gotta learn and discern who to have expectations with. And you know, by saying you could do better, you know, that should be at a level as good as yourself. And you should be confident of yourself because, you know, whether or not you have a big bank account or a house already or a nice car, or you don't, or if you work a job where you're allowed to be clean all the time and look spruced up, you know, it doesn't really matter because you got to have understanding from that significant other because they're not always going to be perfect either. And, you know, you got to understand that there's actually, I would say, more women than men that live off of the things they get from men, from the other person. You know, there's women that make a lifestyle out of, I don't want to say manipulating, you know, or coercing or inviting. It's all but none. You know, it's just the way it is that there's more options. So, you know, they keep the door open a lot. I would say the majority of women of all ages. And, you know, you got to understand that it's easy for them to put on a face. A lot easier for them to do it than a male. And, you know, you'll find yourself really hard up and devastated and feeling deprived of life in a lot of ways once you get to that point where you realize for yourself that things ain't right and they're never going to be right, and that things aren't balanced and they're never going to be balanced, and things aren't fair and they're never going to be fair. And you know, the last thing a guy like me wants to do, and I could say a lot of other men too, is, you know, mold yourself to cater to these games, you know, because the women, they mature quicker, but they stop maturing at a level where the man is maturing later, but he's still maturing in his later years. So the women stop maturing, I believe, in their earlier years. And, you know, that's at a point where they're still part of this big game format on putting a face on and acting a certain way. And, you know, I don't want to, it's bad to say all women, but I would say like 90% of them know how to play this game. And there's just not a lot of cool women out there. There's a lot of beautiful women. There's a lot of smart women and intelligent women. You know, there's a lot of, you know, capable and positive women. But, you know, is she going to be right for you? Whether or not, she may not be right for anybody. And that's why they keep their doors open, is because, you know, there's always something better to come along. And then, you know, the older they get, that diminishes whether you want to admit it or not. And then you know, you find yourself with a trail of people in your life and experiences that you may not want to have had and reflect on. So, you know, as a father, I would say, you know, don't teach your kid on how to play the field, because, you know, playing is for games, and you're going to live a life with games. And, you know, people play each other into having a relationship and marriage and kids, and then to the point where they realize later on that they don't want to play games and it's too much, so then the family breaks apart. So it's good to be straight up and honest and open to begin with. And, you know, don't let them get away with continuing to endorse this game. Like, there's a lot of women that I meet, and that, you know, they got all kinds of qualities, and they're very desirable and attractive, and, you know, you want to plan with them, but, you know, a lot of these women that have good personalities and that are cool, they have men already. You know, some of them are married. Some of them are juggling and shopping. And personally, I won't put myself in a perspective to give myself to anything like that, because I don't want to endorse for any woman that it's okay to juggle and what they call spin plates, and, you know, or shop around and have casual interactions, because I don't want to spend my time on something that's temporary. I'm not that kind of guy, and because I can't or don't have kids, you know, life is my baby, and the woman that gets with me, that wins my respect, you know, even though they may say that I'm clingy or, you know, whatever, codependent, it's not really like that. I just want to invest my full time, because my life and my time and my heart are important to me. So I want to invest in something to build with somebody to share. And our success as a couple, and, you know, the empire that we build will be the baby to me. And, you know, I've been open to women that have had kids before and been married and divorced already. You know, I've been open to women that have, you know, played the field before. I've been open to women that have had bad relationships before. I've been open to women that, you know, have done things that they tell me they regret or they're embarrassed about. But, you know, it doesn't seem to make a difference, because once you cater to that and you open yourself, I'd say it's very rare that they're going to respect you for that, because they're going to go back to this way about them that brings up their past learning experience. And they have a clock that's ticking that's very different than a man. And with the world, the way it provides and the way it dictates, they're looking for something in a sense of security, because they can enable that, because that's the way it is. They don't have to work as hard to survive or live, even though they have to put themselves out emotionally and mentally and play a role. But why are they doing that in the first place? It's because they learned that way. And not all women are like that, but the majority that you will meet are already experienced way more than a man is. And, you know, the fact that there's so many older men going for young girls, they invite a young girl into their life, and the young girl becomes an adult before she grows up. So she feels like she has this, you know, this like position of knowledge and standing that is valid to adult themes and lifestyles, because of the men that have been selfish and robbing the generations, younger generations of the, you know, the population that should be available to them. You know, the older women, they're bitter already, because, you know, they've already had relationships and they're done. And, you know, and sometimes they encompass their youth and they go with that. But at the end of the day, you know, that don't work either. And the middle-aged women, like, because I'm 47 now, black 47, you know, they're like on a ticking clock, and, you know, they've already had experiences that are fresh out of their, you know, in their psyche, and they're just out of most of them, you know, or they haven't had them and they're in a rush, or they're tired, and you know, they want to play, or they want to get so serious that, you know, for a guy like me, my level of caliber and integrity is looked down upon, and they mistake my kindness for weakness. So if you're a man with integrity, and you have caliber, and you have skills, and you have self-worth and confidence, you know, it's a hard spot to be in. And the more qualities you have, the more vulnerable you are, because you are kept out of the loop. But then again, you know, you are expected to be in this loop of socialization, and you know, you'll get taken advantage of for that. And so yeah, like, you could do better, you know. And then, like, I have to tell myself that, because my father, he's a good dude, but you know, we didn't share those type of experiences. You know, we didn't have those kind of talks and things like that. And I end up learning from other people about things, and then I lowered my standard. And then yeah, I listened to people that were actually not very secure within themselves for their image and life and aura and ability on a spiritual, on a human, and on an ethical and a moralistic level. So, you know, I've never been in the right audience. And a couple times I thought I attracted, you know, soulmate, twin flame kind of stuff, but they fell out because they couldn't handle the level of commitment and seriousness that I came from and with and wanted to embark on. And it was entertaining. And, you know, like, a lot of them are step-off. They're stepping off a bad something or a marriage, or, you know, and I found a lot of women that were really in their best, but they were just stepping off with a level of confidence and building on that. So, you know, I've gotten them at their best. But, you know, when you get a woman at her best, if she decides that she wants more, you know, she's going to say, well, I'm too good, and then, you know, go find somebody else to buy it. And then that will cut you out. So it's better to wait, you know. I had a conversation with some dude, and he was like, you know, assuming that I had been with a lot of women. And I'm like, dude, how many women, take a guess how many women I've been with, you know? And then he's like, at least 150. Dude, come on. I wouldn't want to be with 150 women. Just think, as an example, okay, out of 150 women, okay, how many are going to be named the same name? So I don't want to, like, deal with that either. Like, you know, as you get older and you have significant others and interactions, you know, doesn't it, like, ring a bell that, okay, the last person that had this name, you know, I don't want to say the same name and know that it's a different person. So, you know, I keep my numbers low. And I just couldn't believe, you know, and some people, that's what means a lot for them. You know, they're on that animalistic level. I'm more of a spiritual, mental person where I feel like I said, my time and my commitment and my abilities and my contribution is valuable. So, you know, I want the same from somebody. And to find out that I was just a number to somebody else falling in a category a bunch of times, it bothered me. You know, it made me feel cheap. It made me feel less. And it wasn't worth it, you know. So, like, you could do better. If you're having trouble feeling the way that you want to feel in a relationship or with somebody, just know that you could do better. You know, if you don't have a father or somebody telling you something, or nobody knows what your situation is, and you're having a heartache right now because of the situation, you know, you could do better. Okay? Do they give? Do they care? Do they reciprocate? Are they thoughtful? Do they remember? Are they patient? Do they have a short fuse? And, you know, like, the women could have the same advice. And, you know, I'm a man, so I can't speak for women. I can speak about women. And I'm not satisfied. I'm sorry. I think that it's a double-edged sword. I think there's a double standard with your position in life if you're a woman. And I think that you should be more responsible and considerate to 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 men, because you do have that sense of control. One single woman can topple an empire, but you can't hold it together. You can't maintain it, or else there would be a woman president already. You know, there wouldn't be a failure within our political system, and there wouldn't be a lack of consideration and respect and caring within our political and social, even economic issues. You know, so in this day and age, it's an opportunity, and I think women have a lot of power, and you got to start capitalizing on it for the sake of humanity and the rest of us, and not just for selfish reasons because your lady clock is ticking and it seems you're running late. That's a bunch of BS. You know, that's childish games. Daddy's little girl, sugar and spice and everything nice. What a bunch of crap. You know, give me a solid woman. You know, like a Spartan woman. Somebody that has the ability to defend themselves and take what they want. Not just like be welcoming to anything and say, okay, I'm going to pick and choose this, and if he's willing to give it, I'm going to take it, even though I don't want to be with him. And then, you know, I'll just put him in a bracket on a schedule with a time frame. And he gets this amount of time, but this other guy has more, so I'm going to give him more time and prioritize him. But this still guy's here, and he does things for me that this other guy doesn't, so I'm just going to utilize that because he's willing to give. Now, you got to learn to say no out of respect. And, you know, for the women that have, you know, you have babies, so you're doing that to your son. You know, think about that. You know, your son has to come into this world, and your daughter has to come into this world. And if you don't conduct yourself accordingly, you know, your son's going to have heartache, and your daughter's going to get treated like crap, because that's the world you're promoting. So, you know, for everybody out there who never got the right advice, or, you know, who's defending someone that really isn't adequate in matching you, you could do better. If you're hard up and hurt by someone, you could do better. You know, I'm not saying be closed-minded. I'm not saying not to be forgiving. But whoever's meant to stand out, they will stand out, and they will make sure that they get the respect they want by giving the performance and quality of behavior that is deserving of that respect. And if they can't conceive that, if they have a mental, you know, stigma or issue, then they're just not good enough. You know, they're not worth it. You know, and if you get cut down for your memory, and you get cut down because you want to talk about things, they're not good enough. You know, if you get cut down because they said they were going to do something and they don't, they're not good enough. You know, if they can't respect your family and friends and yet not judge you by them, they're not good enough, because they're not looking at you to begin with. They have to look at you and see you. Okay? And, you know, for as many women that were in my life, I'd say none of them, only one has seen me 100%. And I could tell by the way she interacted with me. And, you know, it was an older woman. You know, who knows what happened to her, because time goes by and people get separated, but they have to be open to be able to look at you, and that doesn't come around often, you know, and you can't be afraid to be alone forever either. Just find something else to do. Find a purpose in life, but don't make your purpose molding yourself and trying to figure out someone else in the sense that something's wrong with you, that you're not making them happy. They're just not good enough. And let someone else deal with them. because they'll find out the same thing, because the behavior is just going to continue. Don't think that you didn't make the grade to crack that egg, or, you know, have the combination to unlock their heart, because that's really, really, really not the case. They're playing games, you know, because if they have a heart to begin with, they're not going to accept the things that you do for them, okay, or you want to do. They're not going to ask you for stuff because they know that you have a heart too, okay? And if they use some kind of excuse, you know, or ignore it altogether, they're just not good enough. You know, they're just not good enough. I don't care what they say or what they may do. I hope things go your way and you smile your whole life through. Black 47. It don't matter what they saw, no, all the troubles we've been through, yeah. The past don't hold nothing for me anymore. This old dog pushed on through. Always got love too. Don't hate them. They don't know what they do. The world's pretty confusing. And I hope things go your way and you smile your whole life through, girl. I'm just glad for those days and the time spent with you. And that's what you have at the end. You got your own song to keep on singing.